This is 7.5 Radio with Walter Yerkew and Peter Scoop Stanton. This is the radio show that will break your neck, if your neck needs breaking. And here are the hosts of 7.5 Radio, Walter Yerkew, star of the biggest documentary movie ever made, The 7.5, and Peter Scoop Stanton, who starred in To Catch a Predator.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, one and all. This is Peter Scoop Stanton with Walter Yerkew. This is 7.5 Radio live on Liberty News Radio Network. Check us out at 75radio.org. The number 75radio.org. It is Saturday, July 26, 2025. Walter, how are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty well. How's yourself?
I'm doing outstanding as usual. Anyways, Mike Rakebrand could not make it tonight. He had something to take care of, but he shall be back with us sooner or later. Anyways, I want to say hello to all of our special listeners, including Little Billy Keeler and the men and alleged women of the Onondagas New York Fire Department, also known as the Cellar Savers. Also, we want to say hello to New York's finest, New York's bravest, New York's boldest, New York's strongest, those living on Long Island, especially in the 2nd Congressional District, i.e. Mike Rakebrand's neighborhood. First order of business, as always, we want to remember members of the law enforcement community who were murdered in line of duty. Tonight, remember, police officer Phil Wagner of the Lorien, Ohio Police Department, end of watch, July 24th, 2025. His killer is DOA. And then parole agent Joshua Bard of the California Department of Corrections, end of watch, July 17th, 2025. His killer is in custody. And tonight we have a returning guest who will be with us the entire hour. He is a actor. He is a podcaster. Now he is an author. He's also a friend of the show. It is none other than Ian Trottier, who just released a book called High Stakes Treason, which is available on Amazon. It's about former Director of Central Intelligence John Brennan, how he compromised the national security for his own profit. And also it happens to be released when the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, referred to many in Obama's administration to the Justice Department for a treasonous conspiracy, including Brennan. And the thing about Brennan, he's a self-avowed communist. He supported the communist candidate for president back in the day, but he's looking to line his pockets, but he's just a real piece of work. Anyways, without further ado, I want to turn it over to Ian Trottier, who did write the book, who did compile all the information, and talk about what a piece of trash John Brennan is. Ian, how are we doing tonight, my friend?
Look, in the introduction, Peter, that I want to read for listeners, this is just how I want to start this off here. The third paragraph, when folks buy the book, this is what they're going to read. In 2017, despite any probable cause, and this will give you kind of the temperature of the current administration and those that are close to the president. In 2017, despite any probable cause, CIA Director John Brennan gave a list of 26 friends and associates of then-candidate Donald Trump to the so-called Five Eyes intelligence agencies, which include the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, asking those agencies to, quote, bump the individuals targeted. In intelligence community jargon, that means surveil. I was on that list, says Roger Stone. Roger Stone, Peter, and by the way, I'm doing just fantastic. Roger Stone has written a foreword to High Stakes Treason, and he is not happy about John Brennan. He wants blood, and I can go. Yeah, that's actually a pretty interesting story. How I came about talking to Roger about this, and I can get into that, and it's probably worthwhile. I think your listeners would enjoy that story. But before I get into that story, if you'd like to go direction, which would be, I think you'd enjoy it. Your listeners would enjoy it. I want to read a quote. So initially, Roger, I approached Roger, Peter. I approached Roger about providing a quote for the book. Okay, so I've got this manuscript. It was presented to me in 2 years ago at CPAC 2024 by a guy that identified himself as a former FBI analyst. An award that he won during his time at the FBI, given to him by the FBI, is actually in the book. Okay, so credibility, and he's looking to be interviewed. Nobody's talking to him. People are calling him crazy. He had gotten a death threat up to that point in his life. His daughter's life had been threatened. He's basically blackballed, right, Peter? He's just, this guy's not so da-da-da. So I let him sit down next to me. He puts this binder in front of me, and I start flipping through the pages of it. And I'm like, holy moly, man. I mean, you got something here. And he says, yeah, I know. Nobody will take this anywhere. I need some help. I says, well, you know what? I'm going to push this as hard as I possibly can. The contents of that binder, Peter, so it's very important for listeners to understand. The contents of that binder are now published by Bombardier Books, an imprint of Osbourne. The contents are now known as High Stakes Treason. So, with his authorization, his desire, he asked me to spread the word, right? So I go through the manuscript, I do some tweaks, I add some things, and that's what's found in High Stakes Treason. So Roger, initially I approached him about providing a quote. I says, hey, can I get a quote from you? I've got some stuff on Brennan. We should go through it. 24 hours later, after assumingly he went through the material, Peter, he says, I'd like to write the foreword. You need me to write the foreword for this. So I'll get into that story, which is kind of interesting. But that's how the book opens up. These people want blood, rightfully so. John Brennan, as you said, is an admitted communist. He's a convert to Islam. And here's something that just is nuts. And let me read this quote. We've got the foreword by Roger, right? That's the foreword of the book. But before the foreword, he provides a quote to me. I'm going to read this quote to you, Peter. He says, based on his admittedly being a communist, okay, A, his conversion to radical Islam, okay, B, his approval of the visas for 4 of the 9/11 hijackers. Were you aware of that, Peter?
No, I didn't. I did not know that. So he approved visas of 4 of the 11 hijackers?
Dude, that blew me away. So I didn't know that either before Roger had provided this quote. But I'll get back to that. His approval of the visas for 4 of the 9/11 hijackers and orchestration of the Russian collusion hoax. John Brennan is guilty of treason, Roger says, and when convicted should be hung by the neck until dead. End quote. According to the Constitution, the penalty for treason is just that, death. That's one of the requirements for a conviction of treason. Well, I say requirement, but you get put to death. I mean, I don't know how many people have been convicted of treason. I think it's 7 or 8. I'm not sure exactly what the number is in the history of the country. But should he be convicted of treason, as far as I'm concerned, and Roger is concerned, we want him put to death. If he's convicted of treason in a court of law, of course, right, by the American people, right? So save his soul, should he not be convicted? But if he's convicted, those are the words of Roger Stone. Yes, he approved for the visas of the 9/11 hijackers, and some of the 9/11 items are in the book as well. It's astonishing. So, I'll kind of let you get some words in here, and thanks for letting me go on with this. We've, there's obviously lots to talk about, but that's how the book opens up, and I can go in various directions, but leave it at that for the moment.
All right, wow. Ian, where did you get all this information for the book?
Yeah, so in 2016, I began Discussions of Truth in Miami, and that took me on various conferences and events, led me to the 2024 CPAC in Virginia, or actually Maryland, D.C.
All right, Ian, hold it right there. We gotta do this first break. Stay tuned, everybody. We're just getting warmed up with Ian Trottier.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep, and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
Cybercrime is exploding. Take Sarah from Sweet Delights, whose world crumbled after having to close with not being able to bounce back. Small businesses are prime targets, but the right strategies can keep yours safe. Jay Hill, CEO of Network Providers, has co-authored The Cyber Playbook Simplifies Cybersecurity for Business Owners with Strategies to avoid costly breaches and fines. Build a strong cyber attack response. Secure your business with key protections. Cyber threats aren't slowing down, but you can stay ahead. Protect your business. Ensure its security for tomorrow. Get the Cyber Playbook today at networkprovidersinc.com/cyber-playbook or call 385-446-5500 now.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At cspoa.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
You're back, and Scoop is just getting done staring at Danila's Instagram account. Here's more 7.5 Radio.
And we are back. Scoop Stanton with Walter Yerkew. Our guest is Ian Trottier. The book is High Stakes Treason. It's available on Amazon. If you go to 75radio.org, you can click a link right there. But Ian was just going over just some of the crimes that John Brennan has committed, according to Roger Stone. And we're asking where Ian got all this information from, because one thing about us, myself, Walter, and Mike, we're all former members of the service, and we go by facts, not allegations, not by rumors, things like that. Ian, continue.
So you've got, you've got the Five Eyes, right? You got the 26 friends and associates that Brennan's collected, right? And Roger's on that list. He goes on to say, this is very important. He goes on to say, it's just this laid the groundwork for the Russian collusion hoax, the single dirtiest trick in American politics. Again, this is in the book, so folks should go to High Stakes Treason right now. High Stakes Treason. It's on Amazon. Order a copy. If you go to my website, you want a signed copy, sign the copy, send it out to you. And Peter, keep in mind, and listeners, I actually don't even have copies myself, but I've already sold 12 signed copies. But order it off Amazon right now if you like. So in this introduction, Roger says, single dirtiest trick, right? The Russian collusion hoax, single dirtiest trick in American politics, and an abuse of power in which the full authority of the United States government and incredible
and the incredible capabilities of our intelligence agencies utilize fabricated evidence, the Steele dossier, and the still unproven claim that the Russians hacked the Democratic National Convention or Committee in an attempt to remove a duly elected president. The report of Special Counsel Durham provided demonstrable evidence that Brennan briefed then President Obama and Vice President Joe. This is John Brennan. He's the subject of the book. That Brennan briefed the President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden about the Steele dossier, fully aware that Hillary Clinton's campaign plotted to use the fabricated document in order to frame Trump as a puppet of Russian President Vladimir Putin. So that's part of this introduction that Roger has written for this compendium. Now, to answer your question, Peter, where did I get this information? I make this very clear. I author the book. I am the author of High Stakes Treason. However, I am not the originator of the information. The information was given to me by a former FBI analyst. Identify him in the book with his permission. He's the one that gave me permission to present his compilation to the American public. And so that person is identified in the work. But again, it's 2024 at CPAC DC, where this gentleman a friend of mine approaches the gentleman to the table, and he's requesting an interview. I have a podcast. It's called Discussion of Truth. I started in Miami in 2016. I do different events. Over the years, I've done different events and interviewed different people. And Peter, I never started out to dig into John Brennan, and I make that also very clear. The main nexus of the message that I get in my podcasts, in my work, has been the corruption in the economic system, otherwise known as the Federal Reserve Bank, and that all hinges off of a researcher out of Stanford, the Stanford Hoover Institute, in the 70s, named Anthony Sutton, who wrote a book called Federal Reserve Conspiracy. And I believe he wrote that after he left Stanford. Stanford threatened to fire him for the research he was doing, even though they had hired him because of his ability to research. So back in 2016, that caught my attention. So I've always kind of based a lot of my discussions, if you will, regarding financial crimes, but it's all based off of it was never about John Brennan until I get approached by John Donovan, and I go through his binder, and I say, John, I'm going to do everything I can to get this information out. And so at that point, Peter, is when I literally began sending it. I sent it to James O'Keefe. I sent it to a number of different people. It didn't grab any traction until I had gotten on the phone, and I'm just giving you some of the background here. I'd gotten on the phone to Tony Lyons. Tony was a previous guest on my podcast. I'd known him one-on-one, and I spoke to him, and I introduced him to this source, this FBI, a former FBI source, right? And he says, hey, we could very likely have something here. Let's continue. So there's two different conversations. He was busy with other projects, but it wasn't a clincher, right? It wasn't a clincher with Skyhorse, even though he was very, very interested. And then I introduced it to a guy that I'd known that serves as literary agent, and he is based in New York. And he says,
Ian, my question is, where did we had John Donovan on before back in March? Right. My question is, where did he get all this information? Was it classified? Was it rumor? Was it on Twitter? Where did he get all this information about Brennan?
Yeah, so nothing's classified. There's nothing classified in this. The reason, Peter, that his name is not attached to any publishing contract, the reason he has not and will not make a penny off of this is because of what he terms a conflict of interest with his former employer. That'd be the FBI. So there's nothing to rehash this. There's nothing confidential in the book. This is all based off of his training as an analyst and his knowledge of where to dig and find the answers on the trail that he began way back in 2019. So I'll just reiterate that. This is all what's called open source information. But the reason he is not...
What is open source information? Is it just stuff that you can pull off the internet or in a newspaper, or where would I get open source information?
It's all basically public domain. It's not necessarily a Google search result. So if you go to a Google search engine, you type in keywords, you're going to get rankings that are based off of generating profit for Google, right? This isn't necessarily information that the average person like myself would be getting if they're starting to Google various things such as John Brennan, stock ownership, that sort of thing. But it is all public domain information. That makes sense to you?
Yeah. So more or less, it's public information. So the stuff's out there, but nobody dug deep to see what Brennan was getting at. Okay. So we did. So it's public information. Perfect. Is verified, and it's not just rumor and innuendo. Because we had in January we put the screws to our co-host Mike Raybrandt because he had some information. It's like, how credible is this information? Because we go by facts. All right, so it's open source information, stuff you can find online, but you have to dig deep, not just Google it and find nothing or ads or garbage or pornography. All right, so what did John find on Mr. Brennan?
Okay, so there's an appendix to this information, and in that appendix are various screenshots from the NSA, White House visitors log, and he used basically a cover, and that cover is a person named Michael Jones. That's how Brennan was able to get away with allegedly, right? And again, Peter, I make it very clear that this is and I know you stated that you don't go after allegations. Well, that's essentially what this book is an allegation. However, to a layman such as myself, this is circumstantial evidence, right? So it's what I would call as a non-legal mind, right? It's what I would call evidence, but that's not a word that it can be legally applied to this information. We've got visitor logs in the book. White House visitor logs. We've got NSA documents. One of the most important documents. And I just got a message anyway. So one of the most important documents in this is an ethics waiver that was granted by Norm Eisen and from the Office of Government Ethics. This ethics waiver was granted in, I think it was February of 2009. This is right before the transition of Brennan going from what's called the Analysis Corporation to the Obama administration, right? So right before he starts working for Obama, he signs what's called an ethics waiver, and the ethics waiver relieved him of any financial wrongdoing. So he held stocks in the Analysis Corporation. What we show are SEC filed documents that allege, because they appear on his subsequent financial disclosure forms, that he continued to hold stock in the Analysis Corporation, which he was supposed to, in which he told the United States government that he no longer would.
All right, Ian, hold it right there. We're coming out of our break. When we come back, we'll have Walter ask any questions, and we will continue. Stay tuned, everybody.
Protecting your liberties. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. 11 people stabbed today at a Walmart in Traverse City, Michigan. They're being treated in a nearby hospital. 6 of the victims in critical condition, 5 listed as serious. A suspect is in custody. President Trump in Scotland preparing to meet with various leaders, including British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen.
President Trump says he'll impose tariffs of 30% across the board unless the EU makes major trade concessions by August 1st. The president told reporters in Scotland he'll hold talks with the EU's top negotiator and that, quote, Ursula will be here, a highly respected woman, so we look forward to that. Numerous European sources predict the likely agreement will involve a 15% U.S. levy on EU goods. That mirrors a deal the president secured last week with Japan. Bob Agnew reporting.
Also at townhall.com, a major scam in the National Football League.
The NFL is fining about 100 players and 24 club employees for violating league policy by selling Super Bowl tickets for above face value. A person with knowledge of the details tells the Associated Press. The person said the players who resold their tickets will have to pay a fine of 1.5 times the face value they paid. They also won't be permitted to buy tickets for the next 2 Super Bowls unless they are playing in the game. Club employees who violated the policy will be fined 2 times face value. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Well, the investigation continues into Friday's incident where a Southwest Airlines jet heading to Las Vegas from Southern California was forced to take a dramatic plunge shortly after takeoff. That in response to an alert about a nearby plane. 2 flight attendants were wounded. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. You can't go there. You can't play your favorite sport. You better sit this one out. It's no way to live. If pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help you get back to living life again on your terms, one where you say yes a whole lot more. Head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 800-4RELIEF. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by a team of doctors and scientists, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, your joints, your muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. Give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, a low-cost way for you to sort of take it out for a test drive. Less than $1 a day. Go to ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, or call 800-4RELIEF. That's 800-4RELIEF. See how you could live with less pain, and you can say yes to more of everything you want with Relief Factor.
If Planned Parenthood were what they publicly declare themselves to be, they would welcome transparency. We all know why they hide, because we know what they hide. We can confirm federal judges who follow the Constitution rather than reverse engineer their preferred policy outcomes. The truth about abortion is spreading because of advances in medical imaging, because of brave journalists, tireless activists, compassionate doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. The rising generation of young Americans is the most pro-life in decades because they know too. And one day soon, we will reaffirm our nation's principles in their dignified fullness and avow once again that all men are created equal. All are entitled to life.
This is a battle between truth and deceit. A battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
you're still listening, here's more 7-5 Radio.
We're back. Scoop Stanton with Walter Yerkew and our guest Ian Trottier. Before we continue, that song, the bumper, was Hole in the Sky by Black Sabbath. Earlier this week, we lost Ozzy Osbourne, who was just an absolute pioneer in the music industry. Black Sabbath is the only band who can play throughout 6 decades with all original members. And July 5th of this year, all 4 members got together one last time for one last gig before Ozzy was called home to the Lord. So we will miss Ozzy Osbourne and thank him for all his contributions to the music industry. Well, you got any comments on Ozzy Osbourne? Okay. Ian, were you a fan of Ozzy?
Oh man, of course. I mean, Black Sabbath was one of the early. I remember skateboarding. I was born and raised in California, man, and I remember literally skateboarding down Lombard Street in San Francisco, listening to Metallica and Ozzy Osbourne, Paranoid, Iron Man, War Pigs, you name it. The Black Sabbath was a staple of my junior high and high school years. So absolutely, it was kind of ironic, right? How these kind of rock stars, even James Hetfield, if you will, giving these kind of tributes to Ozzy, and then he passes away, and this is what's wild. What was that, Tuesday? Was that Tuesday, Peter?
Tuesday or Wednesday.
What day was that? A little bit of a whirlwind for me this week, but I think the same day, the same day. I got to double check this. The same day that this book was released, High Stakes Treason was released. I think was the day that Ozzy had passed away. I got to double check that, but I think it was like that happened the same day. What else is incredible is this, Peter. That morning, I may have my days wrong because, like I said, this week's been a little bit of a whirlwind for me. But Donald Trump, the day the book was released, and I was told a certain date, and it was released about a week earlier than the date that I was given. We were never given an actual date. I was given it was going to be here. We try to get it done before this date, but I didn't know exactly the actual release date. In the morning it was released, I get a text from the CEO of Post Hill Press, and he says, "Okay, we're in print, we're live, we're ready to go." And of course, I'm elated. It'd been a 2-year effort, and I wasn't watching any TV. I watched zero TV that day, and I had shot it to Bannon. Bannon gets back to me within 3 hours and asks me to join War Room, and my brain's scattered. I've got thoughts here, thoughts there, and he puts me on with one of his co-hosts, Natalie. I think it's Natalie Winters, and he's in the field. This is crazy, Peter. He calls in. He's out in the field. He calls in. And he says, and he literally said this about this book. He says, "This is the most exquisitely timed release of a book in publishing history." That's what Steve Bannon said about High Stakes Treason. Now, I'm in the waiting room, right, ready to go on, and then they bring me on. They run a clip, and so I didn't know this had happened. They run a clip of Trump in the Oval Office that day with the Philippines president, and he says, Trump, he says Obama is guilty of treason. As we know, it's the first time any sitting president has called out another president for treason. That's the first time that had ever happened. Trump calls Obama out on treason. The very day High Stakes Treason is released. That's how I recall it. I've got to go back. I may have that wrong. And I believe Ozzy passed away the same day as well. So it was an eventful day as far as I'm concerned, right? Through the lens of my eyeballs. Yeah. But yes, to answer your question, I'm a huge Ozzy fan. Yeah.
All right. Ozzy did pass away Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. Anyways, sorry for keeping you in the shadows. Do you have any questions for our guest at this time?
No, just statements. It's amazing that this was going on for so many years with Brennan, and of course, being at the top of the CIA, I guess he felt that he was out further than anybody's reach, and he just turned his minimal, for lack of a better term, salary into a multi-million-dollar empire. And it was all, against us. It was, like the Rosenbergs, or that Snow guy, Snowden, or, anybody who's defrauded the United States for, their own personal gain needs to be, shot. Isn't that what happens to? It's a death penalty. It's a firing squad. So as far as I'm concerned, prove it, line them up.
Yeah,
exactly.
And any of your listeners that are familiar with Scott McKay is known as the Patriot Street Fighter. He's got, I think, close to 90,000 following on Telegram, and I've known Scott for a few years, and I shot Scott over the book. I'm not sure if he may have known I was working on it, but I shot him over, let him know it was released, and literally his response when he reposted it to his group was what you just said there, is that he, end quote, or quote, firing squad. So again, the material presented in the book is the compendium aggregated by over open source by this former FBI analyst. He did it while he was out of the FBI, so he wasn't doing it while he was in the FBI. One of the reasons that he is named but he's not attached to the publishing contract is because of a conflict of interest. As to reiterate, he received the training to be able to, and this is my opinion, to be able to track this heinous crime down and compile it. And he has asked me to deliver it to you. That's how that goes. But again, from a non-legal mind, this would be evidence. That's me, in my opinion. In a court of law, possibly circumstantial evidence. What I'm hoping is that it certainly does aid in the approval, and this is going to be up to the current administration to dig into this, that it will aid in the approval of the information, right? Showing that it's trustworthy, accurate, and honest, which I stand by completely, right? And it should aid in the conviction of this individual. Biden didn't pardon him, and he's not immune like Obama. Okay, even Obama is likely more guilty, right? Because he likely. So here's kind of a clincher, bringing things back up to speed. Here's the clincher: is that Obama likely, knew that Brennan continued his stock holding, and he didn't sell them, and gave him the ethics waiver to use it to blackmail him. So again, this is simply allegation, and this is what I suspect happened. So he used it to cause Brennan to orchestrate the Russian collusion. He blackmailed him. So there's so many, right? So go ahead. That's a supposition.
Right, but what stocks are we talking about? Was he Brennan buying stocks in General Motors, IBM, or General Electric, or what? What stocks are we talking about?
This is the surveillance software, a company called the Analysis Corporation. So the Analysis Corporation was created. It's an intelligence company that monitored terrorist activity. Okay, so there's three main bombings that the book shows and alleges that John Brennan had knowledge of and could have stopped but didn't stop. And that is the Christmas Day underwear bomber, the Norway attack by Anders Breivik, that's NATO, and close to home, the allegation in the book is that he could have stopped and didn't stop the Boston Marathon bombing.
Wow. Anyways, we'll come back. Ian, you can finish up what this piece of work has done for himself. Anyway, stay tuned, everybody.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
As a parent, is receiving a faith-based, character-focused education for your children difficult to find? Do you believe that godly principles should be a central component in your child's education? Imagine a school where faith and integrity are at its center, where heritage and responsibility instill character. For over 40 years, American Heritage School has been educating both hearts and minds, bringing out academic excellence. This is the school where character and embracing the providence of a living God are fundamental, where students' national test scores average near the 90th percentile. With American Heritage School's Advanced Distance Education Program, distance is no longer an issue. With an accredited LDS-oriented curriculum from kindergarten through 12th grade, your children can attend from anywhere in the world. American Heritage School will prepare your child for more than a job. It will prepare them for life. To learn more, visit american-heritage.org. That's american-heritage.org.
As you are aware, America is divided over every fault line possible. This is intentionally fostered by those who do not love God, family, or country. We believe a peaceful future as a free people absolutely depends on civility. Clarion Call for Civility is looking for funding and volunteers at every level to make our hopes and efforts a reality. Please donate, sign our pledge, and help us in our sacred cause. Please visit callforcivility.com for more details. Callforcivility.com.
This is 7.5 Radio with Walter Yuku. Walter Yurkow. Walter Kiwi. Here's Walton Scoop.
Okay, during those very important commercials, I was doing my due diligence and looking at the Instagram account of our spokesmodel, the lovely Danila Rodrigues. Check her out at DanilaRodrigues.model on Instagram. Anyways, before we turn over to Ian for our last segment, another major crime has took place within the shores of the U.S. of A. It's just almost as severe as what John Brennan has. In Tallahassee, Florida, Chuck E. Cheese got arrested for credit card fraud. Local authorities in the Tallahassee area arrived to the restaurant, put Chuck E. Cheese in restraints, and walked him outside the restaurant. And there was actual birthday going on, and Chuck E. Cheese was actually working. So, anyways, I guess things are tough all over. Well, what say you about Chuck E. Cheese getting pinched?
Well, I've never been to a Chuck E. Cheese. You're the expert.
You're missing out, man. You're missing out.
Obviously, I get put in restraints if I'm wearing a mouse costume. So, yeah, I've never been to a Chuck E. Cheese.
Hey, let me say this real quick about Chuck E. Cheese. Most people don't understand this. So Steve Jobs' first job was with Atari, right? So that's kind of the predecessor to what created Apple computers, if you will, in his parents' garage. I think it was where is it? Anyway, Los Altos, something like that, right? Cupertino. the guy that started Atari is the same guy. His name is Nolan Bushnell, and he's the same guy that started Chuck E. Cheese. So whenever I hear of Chuck E. Cheese, I think of Atari.
Wow. And you have to be a certain age to know about Atari. But
Yeah.
Walter, you're a lucky man. You never had to step foot into a Chuck E. Cheese. Me with little kids years ago, I had to go there constantly. I probably could have put all of our kids through college when I spent in that joint. Anyways, Ian, you have the floor for the rest of the segment. So, John Brennan, he kept the stock concerning with the company that had did it have business with Central Intelligence? Or
Well, yeah,
was CIA
I mean,
using so not too much of a conflict of interest?
Exactly, and what's called a false official statement. So he's the book alleges that he's lied, simply lied, and he's lied to the American taxpayer. He's lied to the presidency, if you will, at the time, and he's done it. The allegation is that he's done it at the cost of American lives. Like he killed American people so that he could benefit financially. That's what the book alleges. That's the allegation. It's heavy. It's deep, and it's. I stand by it. I stand by it. I'm calling him a traitor. Absolutely. John Brennan is a traitor. As far as my research shows, okay, and it's not that I have any opinion of the man's character at all. I don't. I simply have been presented research that's been given to me, and I have studied the research and looked at the research to the best of my abilities, and I stand by the research, and I've added to the research, and I am saying that John Brennan has committed treason on the United States, and he needs to be held accountable. And that needs to happen very soon. And that's going to take down, like a domino, it's going to take down some of the bad actors. Because what we're doing is we're simply, once this gets proven true in a court of law, once it gets proven true, it's going to shed what I suspect is going to be the light on one of the very main strongholds of the communist invasion in this country, and it will tear back some of the very critical and important layers of that onion to reveal that scheme, the scheme to implement communism in this country. That is what I believe. That's what you've got in the Democrat Party. Unfortunately for them, right? They are the ones that have grabbed on to these socialist and communist policies to implement them. My opinion is that had Harris gotten into office, that would have been it for this country. It would have been absorbed into this kind of global New World Order, if you will. And these aren't, this New World Order is printed on the back of the $1 bill. Novus Ordo Seclorum. That's Latin for New World Order. This is FDR. This is nothing new. This is not conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy. This is an attempt to conquer this country from the inside out by a foreign enemy. And unfortunately, they've been so successful, Peter, that there are now domestic enemies and domestically born enemies such as this John Brennan.
Wow. But folks, the book is High Stakes Treason, available on Amazon now. Walter, as usual, I'll give you the last word. Any questions, comments, or concerns towards our guest, or your opinion, or Chuck E. Cheese, or Ozzy Osbourne?
That Chuck E. Cheese come with a fly? That costume?
I don't know. What?
Well, you're the one that goes there all the time.
Well, I don't know. I don't look at the mascot's pants. he's got these oversized sneakers. He's got blue jeans. He's got like a sweater or a jersey, and he's got a big rat mask. What does that have to do? So, and I guess well, I know for a fact that Chuck E. Cheese doesn't pay anything. So you get the bottom of the barrel. So you got some dude stealing credit cards and working at Chuck E. Cheese. But you have any questions about High Stakes Treason or John Brennan?
No, just tell us where we can find it. You said it's on Amazon, correct?
Right.
Yes, it's a top new release on Amazon right now under it's I think white collar crime categories. It was bestseller in that category. It really shot out of the gate really fast. People are buying it up, as you would imagine, because treason was just mentioned by the president in the Oval Office. Yes, Amazon, and if they'd like a signed copy, I'd be more than happy to do that. If they purchase directly from the book website, they can obtain that, and that is highstakestreason.com. If they want to purchase it off of Amazon, they can go to Amazon and just type in High Stakes Treason. They'll find it there. I've authored it, and Rogers provided the forward. And there's 2 other forwards in that book as well. There's, and I can get into this next time with you, Peter, but Flynn was involved in this, and but John Kiriakou, who's a whistleblower for the waterboarding, is provided forward. He's a former guest on my show. I like John a lot, and former speechwriter for Alan Keyes, Brooks Agnew, who's got a great series. I think he's working with Netflix right now. Very, very, very intelligent man, Brooks is, and he's provided the forward as well. So readers get the book, and you get actually 3 forwards to that compendium.
You're not going to use an auto pen, are you?
Auto pen. What is that?
It's what the Biden White House used. But anyways, so the book is out. You got all this information. Where do you go from here? I mean, has the Attorney General seen this? FBI, the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, has she seen any of this information, or you just hope it get to the right hands?
It has not been reported to me that the book has gotten into any of those individuals' hands. It is going to be my direct effort, and has been, to get these people reading the book. So hopefully very soon that'll be happening.
Very good, because but do you have any hope that if the right people get this book, that something will be done? Because I've been saying for years, because I live in this cesspool, nobody goes to jail in D.C.
There are a number of things that need to happen to get this. He's already lawyering up. He's already said that. He's getting lawyers. He's not getting lawyers because of the book. He's getting lawyers because of the Russian collusion investigation and the documents that Gabbard has, right? And Clapper's also said he's a lawyer. So these are the main targets. These guys, in my view, these are the main targets, and neither one of them were pardoned by Biden. So they're sitting ducks. But yes, Gabbard can act on this information and bring forth the appropriate official documentation.
Ian, we out of time. For Walter Yerkew, this is Peter Scoop Standard reminding you, you can make a difference. Go out and make it. See you next week, everybody.
James Edwards for 7-5 Radio. For those who work the streets and the jails, thanks for keeping us safe. So long, everybody.